Hello and welcome back to my Sunday thoughts. Um, I missed last week uh, because my computer crashed and I could not do a video. But I am doing one now. I'm going to remind you again that I have a book. It's called Getting the Last Laugh. You can find it on Amazon, and you see me on the cover with an Irish dog. I will be doing, and I'm trying to find the date. I will be doing a Facebook Live show, and it'll be about Thanksgiving because American Thanksgiving is about food. And everybody knows I had anorexia, so I'll be sort of playing around with food. But it's and funny jokes and funny stories. That'll be October 26th at 8 p.m. Facebook Live. I have several thoughts while standing in the queue ready for you, and that'll be the next 2 weeks. However, we have just had another lockdown, and I am talking to you about coping with the lockdown. This time has been especially difficult for me because we we were just getting back to some semblance of normality, and we I was beginning to tell my stories and my comedy and do my cabaret and loving all that. And then it all started again. And once again, because I am 87, I am considered vulnerable and at risk and isolating. Although I don't do a lot of it, I do as much as I can, and I do stay away from crowds. But I was thinking of several things about this that I think most of us forget. This is extremely hard for young people who flourish and grow by connecting with others. And now, with the lockdown and with the coronavirus, we're teaching them to be afraid of one another for fear that if they get too close, they'll be killed. And so I wanted to just tell you, all of you who are trying to cope with the fears of the virus, with the fear of meeting new people, with the fear of hugging someone, with the fear of being close to anyone outside your family. I want to tell you how I coped when I had a similar situation. So this is going to be a story about perseverance, and hopefully some of you will be interested. But it's just a story which I hope will help those who are having trouble coming to terms with the fear and the atmosphere that is pervasive throughout the world these days. When I was 36, my body fell apart, and I went into the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, and I was a guinea pig because I had something they could not identify. I was there for 4 months, and they could not find out what was wrong with me. I was dying. I was not digesting food, and I was actually putting out more, and you'll have to figure out how I was doing that, putting out more than I was taking in as far as food. So I was gradually killing myself, and nobody could understand why. And it was a physical thing. The doctors insisted that it was physical. At the end of 4 months, I determined to go back home to Toledo, Ohio. I lived at that time in a mobile home park in a lower middle class section of Oregon, Ohio, away from my profession, which was a professor at the Toledo University, and away from my friends because I was too sick to see them, and I had had a very, very bad few years, so I did not have very many close friends to begin with. When I got back there, and it was 4 months, when I left the hospital, the woman, the head nurse, whose name was Arlene, lovely lady, she said to me, if you leave this hospital and its protective atmosphere, you will be dead in 2 months because I had very bad osteoporosis on top of everything else. You will have spontaneous fractures, and it will not be able to support your life systems, and you will die. And I went home. And for 2 months, I came to terms with this thing that I had, and had a relapse, went back there for another 2 months, and then came home. And at that point, I realized those doctors were not helping me. I was getting sicker and sicker, because I was depleting. I was losing weight, and at the time, I would guess that I actually weighed. I was 5'2", and I actually weighed 40 pounds because I was carrying a great deal of edema of water. And at this point, my mother, who never dreamed that I was sick, she never dreamed I was sick. She didn't believe I was sick. She thought I was just putting on a show, and of course I was. I was extremely ill. And she called me and she said, while you've been gone, nobody did my garden. So I did what all nice Jewish girls do. I got into my car and I drove the equivalent of from Brighton to London, or for those of you in the United States, the equivalent of Pacifica to Palo Alto, to do my mother's garden, weighing 40 pounds and very sick. But she wanted me to do her garden. I did her garden. When I drove back home, and I had a Valiant, a General Motors Valiant. And this was, you'll have to figure out, I was 37 by that time, so 33 and 37, that's 60, that was 1970. And cars at that time were made of tin. When I drove back, I stopped at an intersection, a very large intersection. I pulled behind a cement mixer, and I coasted into it. And I know now that the reason I coasted into it was because I was too weak to put down, to step on the brake. And my head fell against the steering wheel. And if you've been listening to this carefully, you can imagine what despair I was in. I had no hope at all. I was existing from day to day and barely able to hold my head up. Pulled behind this cement mixer, coasted into it. My head hit the steering wheel, and I thought to myself, thank God it's over. Thank God it's over. I am a pile of rubble because I thought I was going to have a spontaneous fracture, and I am dead. And the cement mixer pulled away. It didn't even realize I had hit them. I'd hit it. And I waited for a few minutes, and the cars pulled around me and went around, after angry honking. And I thought to myself, I thought I was dead. I truly thought I was dead. And I thought, when you're dead, you don't hear all those cars honking. You don't. And I thought, That's pretty much what I thought. So I opened up the door of the car, and I expected to just fall out. I really and truly, you would think an intelligent woman would know better, but I really thought I was dead. I thought this was it. And I didn't. I got out of the car, and I had a bloody nose. And I looked at the front of the car, and the front of the car was totaled. And I said to myself, well, and this is not a joke, this is true. I said, well, you're not very much, but you're better than anything General Motors can make. I got in the car, and I drove back to my mobile home. And I said to myself, obviously, those doctors, well-meaning, lovely people, had no idea what was wrong with me, but I knew in my mind that I was not dying. I didn't feel very well, but I knew I wasn't dying. So I said to myself, what did the caveman do when he was sick? Well, he didn't go to doctors because there weren't any doctors. There weren't any doctors. I'm going to shut that off so that I can continue with this. This caveman got fresh air, which you could get in 1970. I don't think you can get it now. Fresh, clean air. He ate unprocessed food. which is extremely difficult even then, and he got exercise. And all of you who know me know that I am a couch potato. You give me a good book, and I'm sitting on that couch reading that book for 24 hours until I finish. That's the way I am, and I am the one that wrote 11 books for fear that I might run out of reading material. So I decided, all right, I'm going to get a dog. So I had no money. And I was walking toward the main house. I lived in a mobile home park. I was walking toward the main house with a little boy named Billy, and I said, who do you know that has a fuzzy puppy? Because I would like a fuzzy puppy. And the universe kicked in. And he said to me, Sheba had puppies. We have a fuzzy puppy. And I said, no, Sheba is a terrier. You didn't have a fuzzy puppy. And Billy took my hand and he said, yes, we had a fuzzy puppy, and I'm going to show you. And he took me into his filthy mobile home that was dark and awful, and there was Sheba with 3 little sleek terriers and 1 very fuzzy puppy, little black puppy, and with curly hair. And they gave him to me, and I think he was something like 8 weeks old. And I took him, and I named him David. And this is the part that I want you to know. I was very much the situation that people who are isolating are in now, except even more isolated. There were no computers. I had no friends. I was sick to my stomach all the time. Anything I ate went right through me. And I had a dog to take care of. And so I got up every morning and I walked that dog. And I walked that dog in weather that you would not believe, because Toledo has the worst weather in the universe. And I did it. I had no money. I was using my savings because I did not have a job anymore. And I did not eat any food that was processed or in a can or in a bag. I shopped in America. It would be around the edges of the supermarket. It's not so in England. In England, they have the processed food on the edges. But in America, it's around the edges. And I ate nothing but fresh vegetables and meat of all kinds, which I don't know, which I did. And I walked with that dog. And what I did, which is what I'm telling you to do, is I created a structure to my day. I'm a writer, so after the first walk, I would write a story that just write a story. I would interview people on the telephone and write a story and then send it to a million magazines that sent it back. And in the afternoon, after I did the middle of the day walk, I would paint a picture. And at that time we had television, or I had television, and so I would spend the evenings watching drama, because I love it, on television, and the Tonight Show, and then I would go to bed. But I had this structure, and I stuck to this structure. I mean, I'm reading now that people don't get dressed. I got dressed every day because I had to take the dog out. It took me 9 years. That's a long time for all of you. But in that 9 years, I healed myself. I no longer had this terrible edema. I weighed 90 pounds. David had the slimmest hips of any dog in captivity. He learned how to look both ways when we crossed the street. But I kept my interest in living, and I kept my interest in others, because by writing, I was doing interviewing. And this is the thing that I am telling you. We are afraid. All of us are afraid. And I want you all to think, no. There's a statement, no, I will not succumb to fear. There's a statement by Winston Churchill who says, when you're in hell, keep going. And that is precisely what I did for 9 years. I kept going. And I am fine. I am fine. I am healthy. I do not have David anymore. I do not have any dogs anymore, which is really very sad. But through my life, I've had something like 15 or 20 animals, dogs, and as many cats. And they kept me alive. So, but fear is the thing that can destroy you, and your mind is the thing that can save you. My mind saved me. If you are in isolation now, or you are afraid to go out and afraid to touch anything, remember, worry never solved anything. You take whatever happens to you, you will have the tools to cope with it. That is a promise. That is my experience. And I'm going to end this thought now because it's way too long. I want to thank you for joining me. I promise that the next two thoughts will be much lighter, much funnier, and much more enjoyable. And thank you so much for joining me for my lockdown thought today.